The Lord of Hunger, one of the most feared Dark Lords to have ever existed. His command over the Force and those that wield it is in many ways unfathomable. The Sith Lord that could drain entire planets of life using simply his mind and feed off of the death of all those that inhabit it. Today, we will be discussing the power of Darth Nihilus, the Ravager of Worlds. Darth Nihilus is one of the most difficult Sith to analyze as far as power is concerned. In many ways, Nihilus ranks above the most dominant and forceful Sith to have ever existed, but the way he achieved this is something quite obscure. Nihilus is less than a man. In many ways, he is barely alive at all, with a large part of him literally being dark side energy. Nihilus's abilities are extensive and overbearing, with him being a master of the more obscure and abstract ways of the Force. Nihilus was a capable duelist and combative Force user with abilities like Force Lightning or Force Push, but these were never what granted him his immense and nearly unrivaled power. In the conventional sense of skill and power in Star Wars, Nihilus is in fact only slightly better than average. What I mean by this is as a duelist he was capable but not legendary, and in the conventional ways of the Force he is quite gifted, but is outranked by the likes of Master Yoda and Darth Sidious. When Nihilus was merely a man, he was among the last surviving members of Darth Revan's Sith Empire, and in the final days of the conflict was privy to the devastating superweapon known as the Mass Shadow Generator. This superweapon on its own destroyed an entire planet and all surrounding ships, obliterating them. Only by great desperation and luck was the man that would eventually be known as Nihilus able to escape. But the effects took hold. After experiencing the great power of the Mass Shadow Generator, the man was transformed into something less than human. The effects caused him to endlessly crave Force energy, but also granted him powerful means in which to acquire it. Nihilus literally became a wound in the Force, with his presence echoing throughout space and mucking the view of the Jedi. Found by the Sith Lord Darth Traya, Nihilus learned how to control his desire to feed, and discovered how to produce it on a mass scale. All that encountered him with the gift of the Force were steadily halted in their tracks, as the power they once called a gift was drained from their very bodies, along with the rest of their life. This is where Nihilus's power truly becomes terrifying. This ability is known as Force Drain, and throughout all of the Star Wars mythos and all the legendary Sith, Nihilus stood unrivaled in this power. The mere presence of Nihilus was maiming to all that held the Force, as their very energy was pulled from within to feed the Dark Lord, as satisfying his endless need for it was his only goal. But along with this came great hardship. Because of the mass amounts of energy Nihilus was taking in, his body began to fade away and become dark side energy itself. The very spirit of the Sith was leaving him as he evolved past a physical body, but this was not what Nihilus wanted. In order to feed, Nihilus needed to remain in the physical world, and he thus took great measures to ensure he stayed there. Along with this comes another impressive display by Nihilus. In order to prevent himself from deteriorating into nothing, he fused his spirit within his mask and robes, allowing his physical body to move on, but for his spirit and consciousness to remain and continue to feed. As a result of Nihilus's constant feeding, he grew more and more in power, to the point where all feared his potential. Nihilus's very own master one day feared she could not control him, and he would continue until the entire galaxy had been devoured. This was, however, Nihilus's only desire, and he paired with his fellow Sith, Darth Sion, overthrowing their master Traya and breaking the chains clamped around his desire and potential. Next, Nihilus and Sion performed a feat nearly unheard of in Star Wars. Together, they used their great power to drain Traya and sever her connection to the Force. Following, Nihilus did something that left the Jedi in utter ruin and shocked the galaxy. Because of his growing power, the Jedi Council met on a planet with the Jedi Academy to discuss the Sith Lord. While on the planet, Nihilus proceeded to drain them all of their energy, killing all but one who was able to outlast his strength. This one woman who survived was named Visas Mar, and became the slave to Nihilus after surviving a planet-wide purge similar to the way Nihilus had years prior. This woman, along with the returned Traya and the Jedi exile, who herself was a wound in the Force, and was thus able to counter the power of Nihilus, eventually plotted together, and with the help of the Mandalorians and Jedi, the group successfully killed Nihilus aboard his flagship. For the Jedi exile, this was possible as she countered the dark of Nihilus with light, as she too had become a wound in the Force, and was immune to his power, and was thus able to beat him in a straight Force and lightsaber confrontation. Mar was able to assist in destroying Nihilus by being somewhat immune to his power as well, taking great precautions as to not be destroyed by it when they met for a final encounter. Nihilus, however, somewhat remained, still infused to his mask and robes, being placed on Korriban, where he would remain, too weak to ever entertain the idea of his return. This leads me to why Nihilus is such the unconventional Sith. Nihilus's first, second, and third plan of attack was his Force Drain, which was incredibly powerful, so powerful that it could destroy worlds. But this was in fact all the Dark Lord had. The one time he met someone who was immune or able to stave off this attack, he was defeated and overthrown. If the Force Drain ability failed, he would be forced to fall back on the more conventional ways of fighting, and thus became beatable. This is also something that is not completely unique, and could be recreated in order to defeat him. Powerful enough Jedi or Sith could buy themselves enough time to eliminate Nihilus while being subject to his drain, although the number of characters in Star Wars capable of this is minimal. When looking at Nihilus, we have to think of it like this. Under nearly all circumstances, he is unbeatable, able to instantly drain one's force power from their bodies, but in other, extremely rare circumstances, he in fact becomes very beatable. A good analogy and way to explain this is like this. In a video game, there is a boss battle that you have to beat in order to progress, but there is only one weapon that is capable of doing any damage to the boss. If you have the weapon, you will be fine and continue on, but if you don't have it, there is no hope for survival. So that was my explanation on Darth Nihilus' power, a very terrifying and stunning Dark Lord indeed. Surprisingly, many are confused about the true extent of his powers and rank him among the best without any reasoning as to why. I hope this video helped to explore why in fact he deserves to be among the best, but also the strings that come with it. And I implore you to share this video with those that may not have a huge understanding of the real extent of his power. If you enjoyed this, be sure to check out my other episodes on the series with the likes of Starkiller, Darth Malgus, Kylo Ren, and Rey. Links are down below. So tell me how powerful you think Nihilus is, and where does he rank among the most legendary Sith and Jedi? Also leave down below whose power you want me to explore next in the series. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.